Imagine you're 8 years old. You come downstairs for breakfast, and your dad is sitting at the table, on the verge of tears, muttering something about his permanent Path of Exile ban. As a little kid, you only have one question. Dad, are we still going to eat this month? All jokes aside, if the suspected reason for this ban really is RMT, and we have no idea at this point, then bringing up the kids was probably not going to land the way he thought it would. For anyone who missed it, last night, longtime TFT owner Genebu was permanently banned by GGG, and that's what kicked off the entire situation. Today, I'm going to break it down by looking at some of the inconsistencies and flaws in Genebu's own posts and screenshots. But to start things off, we'll get into the possible knock-on effects of this ban, whether it's actually going to affect innocent people, or whether the fallout is being massively overblown. I'm going to try and keep this as factual as possible rather than turning it into an opinion piece. That said, I should be upfront, I've never exactly been a fan of TST's existence, so even though I'm aiming to be fair here, that bias is probably worth acknowledging from the start. Now, in terms of how this actually affects the community at large, the biggest immediate issue is the mirror shop. A lot of extremely rich players had items sitting in Genebu's TFT mirror shop, and with this ban, those items may effectively be locked away with him. And the instinctive reaction is to look at those players as innocent bystanders, people who didn't do anything wrong themselves and who now deserve to get those items back somehow. But I do think there's another side to that. If you were loaning items in Genebu's mirror shop, you were making a calculated risk. Genebu has been a controversial figure for a long time, and the allegations around him are not exactly a tightly guarded secret. Now, to be clear, I'm saying allegations here very deliberately. I'm not part of that scene, I'm not in those circles, and I'm not going to sit here and claim I personally know what is true and what is not. But if you chose to put your items into that ecosystem, you were also gaining the benefit from the exposure, reach, and profit that came with the TFT brand, and with Genebu's shop specifically. These weren't people taking on pure downside with no upside. They were taking on risk in exchange for massive visibility and large income fees. So now, in a sense, the other shoe has just dropped. The guy people thought might eventually get banned, he got banned. And that doesn't necessarily mean you should celebrate those players losing access to their items, but it does mean it's hard to frame this as some completely unforeseeable tragedy. The lesson here is simple. If you're going to put something valuable in an ecosystem like this in the future, you'd better be honest with yourselves about the risk going in. Moving forward, if people still want a mirror service structure to participate in, there are obviously alternatives. Spicy Sushi's Seller Shop is probably the most obvious example, and I do believe there are other alternatives as well. Realistically, TFT may not even stop doing their mirror services, although their brand definitely took a major hit today. Let's go through Genebu's screenshots one at a time and break down what's being said here and what's actually going on underneath it. At everyone. I get hundreds of people DMing me with messages, some of them encouraging, some are straight out telling me to blank myself. Is this what you want from me, GGG? Have you not thought how mentally these bans affect people? Is this a plan just end me and all my efforts in the game? Just click on ban and boom, person deleted. I'm a father of 2 kids, one a 6-month-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. I'm a clinically depressed person who just blanked even more. How do you expect me to move forward after this? I dedicated my life to your game, giving more players reasons to play it, even to support it. Why do you just make these crazy decisions that have so much collateral damage? If anyone has any sympathy for me and doesn't want to see a person who has given everything in their life and sacrificed my entire life for this game, please help me in any way you can, whether contacting support and state your issues with it. I just can't let this go. Please, I beg you, try and help me if you can. He opens up with the most emotionally charged material possible. People telling me to blank myself. Clinically depressed. You just blank me even more. He's immediately leading with the heaviest possible emotional framing, and again, I'm not making fun of that. If people are sending him messages like this, that is deranged behavior. But rhetorically, it also has the effect of raising the emotional temperature of the entire conversation right away. He shifts from the I was banned to you are harming a human being. The ban is not framed as just punishment, it's framed as psychological harm, almost as an act of personal destruction. He's taking enforcement action and reframing it as a form of human damage. And then he brings his kids into it. And we already focused on this at the start. The moment he brings up being a father of 2 kids, the post stops functioning as a straightforward defense and starts functioning more like a sympathy appeal. Bringing your kids doesn't actually tell us whether the ban was justified. What it does is raise the emotional stakes and make the audience feel like they're not just looking at a ban anymore, they're looking at a father, a family, and possible collateral damage. And if the suspected reason for the ban is really what people think it is, then the family angle was always going to land really badly. He keeps emphasizing sacrifice. I dedicated my life to your game, giving more players reasons to play it. Again, notice this defense is centered on not a clear denial, not a factual rebuttal, not this accusation is false. It's his sacrifice, it's his investment, it's how much of his life he gave to the game. And this is another example of him arguing self-importance rather than his own innocence. Next up, he frames GGG's action as reckless collateral damage. Why do you make these crazy decisions that have so much collateral damage? The wording here is very important because it reframes the situation as if GGG is not just punishing him, that they are responsible for punishing everyone in his circle. And this connects directly to the Mirror Shop intro that I explained in a pretty healthy way, I would say, where I don't think you can possibly attribute the blame onto GGG for these people losing their items. And lastly, he calls on the community to intervene. Please help me in any way you can, whether contacting support, and state your issues with it. And this is very important because this goes beyond self-expression and becomes a call to action. He is explicitly asking the community to step in, contact support, and apply pressure. So this is not just an emotional post, it is an attempt to militarize and mobilize his 700,000 following. And this rubs me the wrong way, and he's done this in the past. I don't want to make this too personal, but I think it's relevant to bring up the situation when a friend of the channel, Ali, got into some hot water with a divination card scandal. And I'm not here to defend her on that. I think the community can hold her responsible. But Genebu going out of his way to publicly tag the entire community to mobilize against her was way too much power for someone who is clearly not mentally sound. And I have been so off-put by TFT, especially after that incident. And him doing it again here is just making me feel even more justified in having this opinion for the past few years. But it doesn't end there. At everyone. I'll also add that I'm getting really cold responses from GGG and they aren't willing to look into it anymore. If anyone here has any way of helping me, please contact me. My life is a complete ruin now over some arbitrary decision that could be anything. I know I sound desperate, but I am. This is my life project going to waste. It feels like blank. They said I can make a new account, but the account is what matters. I am never making a new account. We'll see if he holds true to that. This account holds 8+ years of PoE legacy and everything thousands of people invested years into. It's also their passion. This is the reason they even play this game. What's the point of this game if you ban someone who actively tries to make the game better for everyone? This is my passion. It feels like a knife in the neck. I can't be indifferent about it and just accept it. The future of the server also depends on it. This would just bring blank to this game and to standard in PoE 1. It would make hundreds, if not more, people quit and stop playing. There's hundreds of thousands of people that play. Why is all this effort going to waste? Why would you even play this game for long term if one day you'll wake up with all of it destroyed? I have been doing all I can to keep my account secure to prevent hacks, but in the end, it's GGG who just nukes everything. This isn't about rules, it's about the big picture. Does the fact I have done so much for this game mean absolutely nothing? Despite some people disliking me, I have spent 16 hours per day for 8 years straight building around this game because it's my passion. Why take it from me? Why not try to talk through it and fix what needs to be fixed? Why can't I even talk to anyone and just get robotic messages back? I get that they made a decision, but decisions are made by people, and this is a very severe and serious case that has to be reconsidered for the sake of many people, not just me. See here, he's framing himself as if he is more important than everybody else because this case needs to be reconsidered. But he's also saying it's for other people. This is a really manipulative way of talking here. TFT is basically one of the largest fan bases for the game. We never attack the game or company publicly. Its decisions as policies, even when everybody else did. We just focused on our passion for the game and improve where we can and always try to improve. Even personally, I've been working on many free tools like the POB viewer for hundreds of hours just purely out of passion and not wanting to gain anything from it. To my haters, I say, I get why you hate or hated me. I truly deserved it because I was a horrible person and shouldn't have acted like I did many times. I tried to improve in the past 2 years and learned from my mistakes and been mostly keeping to myself. But despite you hating or liking me, please don't take away from all the hours I poured my heart and soul into the game and system. I can't sit idle when my life is falling apart. To anyone covering this, try to put yourself in my position. Like, really try to do it. How would you feel? What would you do if you got banned? This isn't just a PoE account banned. This is my entire motivation around this game, around this passion. They take everything from me in a single click and decide it's not applicable because they decided that I broke the rules, hence I deserve no second chance. Maybe the ban policy is too strict then? What about seeing the big picture and trying to solve something instead of break everything? Please, whoever at GGG deciding this, please let's talk through it and come for a solution so this wouldn't have to be the blank of TFT permanently in my life. Now this screenshot is probably the most revealing of the bunch because here he stops even pretending this is mainly about whether the ban was justified on a rules basis, and he basically tells you outright what his argument is. He literally says, this is not about rules, it's about the big picture. And I think that line is incredibly important because with all due respect, bans are about rules. That is the whole point of them. They are not supposed to be about how important you think you are, how much you've built, how many people rely on you, or how catastrophic you believe the consequences of banning you might be. And I don't think they will matter at all. But that is exactly the shift this post is trying to make. He is trying to move the conversation away from, did I break the terms of use or not? And is banning me too damaging to be worth it? That is a completely different argument. And once you notice that, a lot of the screenshot starts making sense. He talks about his life being ruined. He talks about 8 years of PoE legacy being wiped out. He talks about thousands of people having their items invested. He talks about the future of the server, the future standard, and even asks, what is the point of the game if everything you have can be destroyed overnight? So again, the core defense here is not really the accusation is false. It's more like the consequences of banning me are too big. And that's a huge distinction. Because what he is really arguing here is not innocence. He's arguing indispensability. Do you guys in chat think he is indispensable to the community? Will we be able to survive moving forwards? Because that is the big picture framing that he really believes. And I think that's exactly where a lot of people are going to lose sympathy because the average player really is not affected by TFT existing. And the rules really are there to protect the average player. He is building a moral case for why he should be viewed differently from everyone else, not just as a banned player, but as a contributor, a builder, a steward, almost like a community institution. And this is an enormous escalation because now the ban is no longer framed as my account got banned, it's being framed as the entire ecosystem is going to die with this ban. And that to me is the biggest takeaway from the screenshot. This is not a rules-based rebuttal. It is an attempt to redefine the stakes, which clearly is not going to work with GGG, right? So in the end, I don't think these posts really function as a clean defense. They function more like an emotional pressure campaign built around sympathy, sacrifice, and the idea that banning Genabu hurts too many people to be acceptable. And whether you buy that or not is probably going to decide how you see this entire story. I'm really curious where you guys land on this, so let me know down in the comments. Do you think this was fair enforcement, or do you think GGG went too far? And do these posts come off to you as genuine appeals or emotional pressure? I will see you guys live on twitch.tv/animeprincess in a few hours as we log into Last Epoch and play a few days of Bleed Hammered In. Maybe we'll even do a guide on that next. Take care.